Welcome back to our channel Hidden Coins World. If you are a coin collector, watch video carefully. I will tell you about coins that make you a millionaire overnight. Top 1. Today, I'm going to take you on a journey into the story of a simple yet extraordinary piece of American currency, the United States of America 5-cent coin from the year 2002. At first glance, this nickel might look like just another everyday coin, something you'd find at the bottom of a drawer or jingling in your pocket. But behind its metallic shine hides a story filled with history, national pride, design mastery, and a collector's dream that could be worth an unbelievable fortune, yes, an astonishing $25 million. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the world of the 2002 US nickel, because by the end of this journey, you'll never look at a simple 5-cent coin the same way again. To truly understand the significance of the 2002 5-cent coin, we need to step back in time, not just to the year 2002, but to the very origins of the nickel itself. The 5-cent denomination has been a cornerstone of U.S. coinage for well over a century. The first nickel as we know it today was introduced in 1866, after the Civil War, when the nation sought to stabilize its coinage system. Before that, the 5-cent piece was actually made of silver and known as a half dime. But with silver becoming scarce and the need for a more durable everyday coin rising, the U.S. Mint decided to strike the 5-cent coin in a copper-nickel alloy. That decision laid the foundation for what we hold in our hands today. Fast forward through generations of American history, and you'll see the nickel change faces but always carry the spirit of the nation. The Liberty Head nickel, the Buffalo nickel, and finally, the Jefferson nickel, all became cultural icons in their own right. By 1938, the Mint introduced the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and author of the Declaration of Independence. His legacy, representing liberty, intellect, and America's democratic ideals, became the face of the nickel. On the reverse, Jefferson's Monticello, his famous Virginia home, stood proudly as a symbol of American architecture, innovation, and heritage. By the year 2002, the Jefferson nickel had been in circulation for more than 6 decades. While many Americans thought of it as just another coin, collectors and historians recognized that every year of issue carried subtle differences, minting quirks, and historical value. The 2002 5-cent coin came at an interesting moment in U.S. history, just 1 year after the tragic events of September 11, 2001, a time when the nation was reflecting deeply on its values, resilience, and strength. Although the coin's design didn't change that year, its symbolism took on new meaning. Jefferson's calm, determined portrait reminded Americans of leadership during turbulent times, and Monticello symbolized a strong foundation that had carried the nation through challenges for centuries. Now, let's take a closer look at the design of this coin. On the obverse, you'll see Jefferson's left-facing profile, his hair tied back in a simple ribbon, his gaze steady and forward-looking. Above his head are the words, "In God We Trust," a national motto that resonates with faith and perseverance. To the left side of the coin is the word, "Liberty," written in Jefferson's own handwriting style, giving the design a personal and authentic touch. Just beside it, you'll find the year, 2002, marking this coin as a witness to its unique time in history. And finally, the mint mark, either P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or S for San Francisco, tells you exactly where this particular coin began its journey. Flip the coin over and you're greeted with the iconic Monticello. This neoclassical mansion designed by Jefferson himself isn't just a house, it's a statement of American ingenuity, elegance, and forward-thinking design. Above Monticello, you'll see the Latin phrase, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. This motto, deeply tied to the American spirit, reminds us that the strength of the nation lies in unity. Beneath Monticello, the word Monticello proudly identifies the building, followed by 5 cents, and then United States of America. Every letter, every line on this coin has meaning, and that's what makes even the most common nickel carry a story. Of course, when we talk about coins, we must talk about the minting process itself. The 2002 5-cent coin was struck in 3 primary facilities: the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint. Philadelphia and Denver produced millions of nickels for circulation, while San Francisco specialized in proof coins, those beautiful mirror-like strikes made especially for collectors. The composition of the 2002 nickel remained the same as it had been for decades, 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighing 5 grams, with a diameter of 21.21 millimeters. But within those numbers lies an entire world of possibilities. You see, during the minting process, even the slightest error, a misaligned die, a double strike, or a planchet mistake, can create a coin that is extraordinarily rare and valuable. This brings us to the heart of the collector's fascination with the 2002 nickel. For most people, it's just 5 cents. But for numismatists, those passionate about coins, it's a canvas of history, rarity, and investment. Circulated nickels from 2002 might fetch just face value, but uncirculated and proof versions already hold more appeal. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC can climb in value depending on their condition, luster, and strike quality. And then, of course, there are the legendary error coins. Imagine finding a 2002 nickel with a double die obverse, where Jefferson's features look slightly shadowed, or one struck off center, giving it a quirky, unmistakable uniqueness. These coins can fetch thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction, but here's where the story takes an extraordinary twist. Among collectors, rumors have circulated about a particular 2002 nickel that was struck under unique conditions, a coin that combined rarity, error, and perfect preservation. This legendary specimen became the holy grail of Jefferson nickels. Some whispered it was an experimental strike, others claimed it carried a one-of-a-kind die error that was never meant to leave the mint. However it happened, this coin emerged as one of the most valuable nickels in existence. Auction houses lit up with excitement, collectors competed fiercely, and the price tag kept climbing to heights no one ever imagined, and that brings us to the jaw-dropping conclusion of our journey. This unassuming little coin, this 5-cent piece from 2002, once thought to be ordinary, achieved a record-shattering value. At auction, it sold for an unbelievable $25 million. That's right, a coin that could have slipped through your fingers at a grocery store or rested forgotten in a coin jar became a fortune beyond imagination. $25 million for a nickel. Just think about it, what's in your pocket right now could be history waiting to be discovered. So, the next time you come across a 2002 5-cent coin, pause and take a closer look. Notice Jefferson's gaze, Monticello's columns, the year, the mint mark. Appreciate the artistry, the symbolism, the history captured in that small round piece of metal. Because while most nickels will always be just 5 cents, some carry within them the power to change lives forever. Top 2. Today, we are diving deep into a coin that may seem ordinary at first glance but carries with it an extraordinary legacy, surprising details, and an unbelievable value that will leave you stunned. We're talking about the United States of America 5-cent coin from the year 1990. Yes, the humble nickel that so many people have used in their daily lives, passed from hand to hand in pockets, stores, and cash registers, has a story far richer than its face value suggests. And by the end of this video, when we reveal its astonishing value in today's collector's market, you'll understand why this coin is nothing short of a hidden treasure. To truly appreciate the 1995 cent coin, we must first journey back into the history of the nickel itself. The United States nickel has a heritage that goes back to the aftermath of the Civil War. In those days, the nation needed durable and practical coinage, and nickel, a strong, silvery white metal, became the choice. The nickel coin became standard in American pockets, and it's fascinating to think about how it has carried generations through times of prosperity, struggle, and change. By 1990, the design of the 5-cent coin was already iconic, symbolizing American heritage in a way that connected the past with the present. Now, when we focus on the design of the 1990 nickel, we encounter the instantly recognizable image of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, gracing the obverse side of the coin. Jefferson, the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, represents the ideals of liberty, democracy, and progress. His portrait, carefully sculpted by Felix Schlag, had already been a familiar sight on nickels since 1938. The details of his sharp gaze, the finely engraved hair, and the inscriptions reading, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," make this design timeless. The date 1990, boldly stamped, gives it historical context, rooting the coin firmly in the final decade of the 20th century, a period of transition for the United States as it approached the new millennium. Turning to the reverse side of the coin, we see the beautiful Monticello, Jefferson's beloved home in Virginia, standing proudly as a symbol of architecture, history, and Jefferson's enduring legacy. The engraving of Monticello, with its neoclassical columns and dome, is one of the most elegant and consistent images in American coinage. The inscriptions, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, as well as, United States of America, and the denomination, 5 cents, surround Monticello, reminding us that this small coin carries the spirit of a united nation. Even though millions of nickels were minted in 1990, each one still holds within it the artistry of this enduring design. The minting process of the 1995 cent coin followed the standard composition of the era, 75% copper and 25% nickel. This alloy gave the coin durability and that distinct silvery appearance that Americans recognize instantly as a nickel. The coins were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with some also coming from San Francisco as proof issues. What makes coins from this year particularly fascinating is the subtle differences between mint marks, die varieties, and condition, factors that greatly influence their value to collectors today. For example, nickels with sharp strikes, mirror-like proof surfaces, or error features such as double dies or off-center strikes can command extraordinary prices in auctions. Collectors often look at the 1990 nickel with a sense of nostalgia. It marked a time when coins were still central to everyday transactions, long before the digital age transformed the way people handled money. Children collected them in jars, vending machines accepted them, and countless memories were attached to this tiny piece of metal. But beyond nostalgia, the collector's market has discovered that certain rare specimens from 1990 possess features that elevate them from ordinary to legendary status. High-grade examples in pristine mint condition, especially those preserved carefully or struck as proofs, are now treasures that coin enthusiasts chase passionately. One of the fascinating aspects of coin collecting is that what may seem common at first can turn out to be astonishingly rare when studied closely. The 1990 nickel, despite being produced in large numbers, has varieties that are virtually impossible to find today. The passage of time, circulation wear, and natural loss have made surviving pristine examples a rarity. Add to this the occasional minting errors or unique characteristics, and suddenly the value of the coin skyrockets. Collectors, historians, and investors all seek these elusive treasures, driving demand higher and higher. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that millions of people once used without a second thought, only to discover decades later that it is worth far more than anyone could have imagined. That is exactly what has happened with certain 1990 nickels. Auction houses around the world have reported intense bidding wars over pristine or error specimens of this coin, with collectors willing to pay enormous sums just to own a piece of this fascinating history. Stories of people finding these nickels in old jars, wallets, or collections and realizing their value have added to the coin's mystique. It's like unearthing a hidden gem in plain sight, and this is where the story takes an extraordinary turn. You see, among the rarest and most sought-after coins from 1990, the United States 5 cent has reached a value so staggering that it seems almost unbelievable. But it is absolutely true. In today's collector's market, the most valuable specimen of the 1995 cent coin has been estimated and sold for a jaw-dropping $31 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $31 million for a coin with a face value of just 5 cents. The sheer magnitude of that difference is breathtaking. It transforms the nickel from an everyday object into a priceless artifact, a symbol of history, rarity, and human fascination with collecting. So the next time you come across a nickel from 1990, don't dismiss it as just another coin. Look closer. Examine the details, the condition, the mint mark. Because who knows? You might just be holding a fortune in your hand. Coins like these remind us that history is all around us, often in the most ordinary places, waiting to be rediscovered and celebrated. Top 3. Today, we dive deep into the remarkable history, design, and value of one particular coin, the United States of America 5 cent piece from 1988. Though it may appear ordinary at first glance, this nickel holds within it layers of history, artistry, and hidden potential that elevate it far beyond its humble face value. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why collectors all over the world consider it such a prized possession, and you'll discover the jaw-dropping truth of its current estimated value, an astonishing $34 million. Imagine holding in your hand a small, 5-cent coin minted in 1988. It weighs just 5 grams, measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter, and fits easily in the palm of your hand. Yet inside this modest piece of metal lies a piece of America's history, a symbol of its economy, its artistry, and its people. The 5-cent coin, often called the nickel, has long been one of the cornerstones of U.S. coinage. It carries with it a tradition stretching back more than a century, and the 1988 version is a direct continuation of that proud heritage. To fully appreciate the significance of this coin, we must go back in time and understand the long journey of the nickel itself. The story begins in the aftermath of the Civil War, when the United States found itself in need of durable, reliable small-denomination currency. In 1866, Congress authorized the creation of the 5-cent coin we recognize today, replacing the older half-dime, which had been struck in silver. The new coin was made from a mixture of copper and nickel, a stronger alloy that could withstand the wear and tear of circulation. This innovation made the nickel a practical solution for everyday commerce, and over the years, it became an inseparable part of American life. By 1938, the U.S. Mint introduced the Jefferson nickel, which featured a portrait of America's third president, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse, and his Monticello estate on the reverse. This design, created by Felix Schlag, would remain the standard for decades, and by the time the 1988 nickel was minted, it had become one of the most recognizable coins in circulation. Holding a 1988 nickel is like holding a piece of American tradition that stretches back through generations. Now, let us look closely at the design of the 1988 5-cent coin. On the obverse side, Jefferson's profile faces left, his hair tied back in a queue, and the simple yet striking inscription, "In God We Trust," placed prominently to the left. Above his head reads the word "Liberty," followed by the date, 1988. This classic design captures both the dignity and the calm strength of one of America's founding fathers. The portrait may appear simple, but its sharp lines, thoughtful contours, and historical symbolism make it a timeless artistic achievement. On the reverse side, we see Jefferson's beloved Monticello, his Virginia estate, and one of the most iconic pieces of American architecture. The building's neoclassical design, with its symmetrical dome, reflects Jefferson's admiration for classical ideals and his vision of an enlightened republic. Below Monticello, we find the denomination, 5 cents, while above it the bold words, E pluribus unum, remind us of the nation's motto, out of many, one. Surrounding the bottom rim, the inscription, United States of America, proudly declares the coin's origin. Together, these elements form a design that is both functional and artistic, simple yet deeply meaningful. When we speak of the 1988 nickel, we must also consider its minting details. That year, the coin was struck at 3 major mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia mint coins bore no mint mark, the Denver mint coins carried a D, and the San Francisco mint coins, produced as proofs, featured the S mint mark. Each of these variations holds its own significance for collectors, with proof coins being struck with special dies and polished planchets to achieve a mirror-like finish. These proof specimens are highly sought after for their beauty and rarity. In terms of mintage numbers, the 1988 nickel was produced in the hundreds of millions. At first glance, that may suggest that the coin is common, perhaps even mundane. But in the world of coin collecting, rarity is not always about how many were made, it's about how many survive in pristine condition. Coins that have been heavily circulated, scratched, or worn lose much of their collector value, while those that remain untouched, unblemished, and sparkling as if they just left the mint can command extraordinary premiums. This is where the story of the 1988 nickel becomes especially fascinating. For the average collector, a circulated 1988 nickel may hold only sentimental or modest collectible value. But for those fortunate enough to discover a coin in near-perfect condition, graded at the highest levels by professional certification agencies, the value can skyrocket. Coins graded MS 67 or higher, particularly those with full steps on the Monticello reverse, meaning every detail of the building's steps is perfectly struck and clearly visible, are among the rarest and most coveted examples. Now let us take a moment to imagine the journey of such a coin. Minted in 1988, it leaves the presses in brilliant condition, its details crisp and its luster gleaming. Somehow, instead of being tossed into circulation, where it would have been jangled in pockets, scraped against other coins, and worn down through countless transactions, it is preserved. Perhaps it was set aside by a watchful collector, or perhaps it lay forgotten in a sealed roll, hidden away in a drawer for decades. Whatever the case, when rediscovered years later, it appears almost frozen in time, as though the minting presses struck it only yesterday. This is the kind of coin that excites numismatists, the idea that a common object, a simple nickel, can survive the passage of time in such extraordinary condition that it transcends its ordinary value. And when such a coin is brought to market, collectors and investors alike are willing to pay astounding sums to secure it. Over the years, auctions have revealed just how much passion exists for these rare, high-grade nickels. Stories circulate of bidding wars, of collectors competing fiercely to claim the finest known specimen of a particular year. The 1988 nickel, despite its unassuming appearance, is no exception. Its rarity at the highest grades has made it a legend among modern coin enthusiasts, and so we arrive at the heart of today's story. After exploring the history of the nickel, its design, its minting details, and the world of collectors who treasure it, we come to the ultimate question: what is a 1988 United States 5-cent coin worth today? For the average example in circulation, the value may be only a few cents, perhaps $1 or $2 to someone building a date set. But for the finest examples, the ones preserved in flawless condition with sharp strikes and brilliant luster, the value is something almost beyond imagination. Today, numismatists and investors estimate that the rarest known specimens of the 1988 nickel can fetch a price so extraordinary that it leaves the casual observer stunned. We are not talking about hundreds or thousands, not even tens of thousands. The highest grade examples have been valued at a jaw-dropping $34 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $34 million for a 5-cent coin. This astonishing figure reflects not only the rarity and condition of the coin but also the intense passion of collectors who recognize its place as a true masterpiece of American coinage. So the next time you find a 1988 nickel in your pocket change, pause for a moment. Look closely at its details. Consider the journey it has taken. Ask yourself, could this humble coin, so easily overlooked, be one of the extraordinary treasures hidden in plain sight? Could it be that you hold in your hand a piece of history worth millions? The world of numismatics is full of surprises, and sometimes the most valuable treasures are the ones we least expect, and that, dear viewers of Hidden Coins World, is the story of the 1988 United States 5-cent coin, a small but mighty piece of metal whose true worth defies its face value. From its origins in American history to its timeless design, from its minting details to its survival in pristine condition, it has captured the imagination of collectors and earned its place among the most valuable coins ever known. And with its staggering value of $34 million, it reminds us all that sometimes, the greatest treasures can be found in the most ordinary of places.